Hello, today I will speak about the effort and particularly the difference between the felt effort and the real effort. So, when you have a feature to do, the first thing you think about is the code to create your features. Is the main topic when you do any evaluation, but it's not the only one. The second part is the test, particularly the unit test, the technical test that you will check that your code work. You have two ways to do it. You can do the code and test after, but the better way, if you do a TDD, test driven development, you can do a small test, and after the development you want for the feature you want to test by step. Is for that I create this line with two color. Next step we have to think about in case of you are doing a feature is validation. You want to check that this feature do the job, and it could be validated by QA, PO, client, stakeholder. Everybody have acknowledge. And the last one is a deploy. Most of the time the deploy is not need a lot of effort, but when you start a project it could be very long. 2 points very important that before starting a feature, you have some specification to do with a functional specification, the feature itself, and the technical specification to know how you want to do the architecture, code, and other things. That is a vision of what you feel, the code, but in fact, in reality, you have a specification part called automatic test, validation, and deploy. So when you ask to a team about a feature and you ask to them eventually to wait it, automatically the team will think about the code, eventually the automatic test, but in fact you have to take the integrity with the validation and also the deploy. One of the tools you have to do that, to do, for example, an estimation or anything, to think about a feature done, is the definition of done. Most of the time is after the deploy. Eventually, if you have a very good CI and you have some impediment to deliver, for example, you can deliver every week or every 2 weeks, maybe you can say your feature is done after the validation, but better when it's available in production. The other part, after the code and after the automatic test, is not done, and your product is not available for the user. That is important. We are speaking about definition. We have another definition you can use. Is the definition of ready, is when your feature is specified and you can start to develop it. Most of the time it's after the technical specification, but on my side I like when we do this door before, and I think it's good to have a part of technical specification in the part of God to lose less time before the feature started. Here you see the different step of a feature, and it could be open me to introduce you about a methodology, the waterfall. It's a methodology we use a lot in 2000 years. So what is the specificity of waterfall? That you have a project and you will do all of the steps for a feature, but for the whole project. What that means that before you will starting with feature specification. It's done by project manager that will write everything about the feature we need, and all of them for all of the project. The next step, we have a technical project manager will take this functional specification and write technical detailed specification of all project based, what I said before, based on the functional specification. The next step will be the code. That is a good point because a lot of developers like to code a lot in one shot. That you will do the code of all of the project. And after you will do integration test or unit test. That means you will test every part of the technical detailed specification and you will test they work. And after you will do validation phases. You will check that all of the functional part worked and test. And don't forget the deploy. When you have a big project and we don't take care about the deploy before, it could be a very, very, very long part of your project. If I do a zoom out, you see that it's a very long project with phases. The interesting part is you can focus on your subject, but it takes a very, very long time to have the first feature and to have the first result. In French, we say that is a V cycle. Why? Because we push all of these phases on the V. For example, here we have functional specification, technical after. The check of the V is code. After you have unit test or integration test, and the validation, the feature validation. Yes, for me is a square because we had the deploy part. Why the French people say V? Because for the functional specification, you have the functional validation, and for the technical detailed specification, you have the test integration or unit test. What's the point? If you have a forget and you discover it in the validation, specific validation, you have to restart a new cycle. Could be some months, some years, some time, or something like that. And when you use this methodology, you have a lot of project manager with very good knowledge will try to list all of the cases you can encounter in the life of the product. That means you have over specification, and that means most of the time you have only 10% of the code was used. If I do the same exercise for the Scrum, it's totally different. I start with the team. I take in consideration that the team was working on a sprint on other project, and will prepare the next sprint for the new project in this step. There is no sprint zero project. So after, all of the phases will be in the sprint. What you will start, you will code your feature. I take an example of TDD, that we do a good job. Just after, we will have the validation. We will check that we do the proper features. And for the first iteration, for the first feature, we will have a long part of deploy. It's normal because you start the project. And in my case, I will do two features in the sprint. First one with a long deploy, and the second one with the shortest deploy, because I know already my CI. And in parallel, I will prepare the next sprint. That is, in fact, I have more time to prepare my sprint, and also I can take in consideration what I learn during the sprint, etc., etc. It was my first sprint. I will start my second one, and I will do my different step with code. I am in TDD. I keep the smallest possible part of the feature, and you can see that my CI, my integration, my rollout is very small, because most of the time I just have to apply the automatism I create in the first story. So, and after I can do more story, and I can advance, and each time I prepare my next sprint. Could be the just next one or next one, but I do my technical discovery and feature discovery during the sprint to advance. If you compare with Waterfall, you saw that you started to deliver something, then in Waterfall you didn't start to code. So just remember, I didn't say there is a sprint zero, just the team working on other project when we prepare the first sprint. So just now we have the different step in Scrum. I just want to give you one of usage in Scrum that not totally adapted and could have a side effect. I restart with the same things, my discovery in progress, and with the 2 sprint. But I will do like a mini waterfall. That means I want to gather all of my code of the sprint, and I do in one block. So after that, I do a big validation that sometimes you create a bottleneck because all of them arrive in the same time. And you can see in your example that with the first rollout, with the third deploy, you will take some time and we won't be in the sprint. In fact, you did more jobs than the first version. That could be a hello world, the first feature, just to try the CI. in fact you did more work, but it's not done, and you can test in the end of the sprint and you lose some visibility. And if you continue, you can have this issue all of the sprint, because you gather your code and it's very complex to finish the code, all of the code, to push it and in the staging or something like that, validate it and deploy it. It's more work. And that is a mini, it's like a mini V cycle. In fact, you do a small one. And you do that because you focus on the code, that you think that the code is the main things. You want to gather it because it looks like to be more easy. But in fact, at the end, it's very hard to finish the sprint, and so it's very hard to give some visibility. So another practical not good is to not do the deploy. You started a new project and you're done just after your validation, but your CI is not managed. In this case, it's good because you are very, very quick. And the first sprint you did 4 stories, etc., etc. In a 4 sprint, you do 16 stories. It's very good. That means in 4 sprint, you did all of your code. It was tested by your client, maybe your stakeholder and something like that, but you have maybe more than 1 sprint just to do the deploy, and you lose a little bit the visibility, because it's good, you show the result, but at the end you take a lot of time. So in summary, you can see the V cycle, the Scrum, what's the advantage of Scrum, to have a quickly feature and to discover every part of your project, including the deploy. And after, two usage you should not do, that the mini cycle that create a difficulty to ending the sprint with a lot of bottleneck, and to not consider the deploy in your work done. Thanks a lot. I hope it was clear, and see you in the next video.